Now, Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Coming up at 8:35, our friend from the Fox News Channel, Brett Baer. You're listening to WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Brian Wilson, Larry O'Connor.
You know, if you're going to do a Super Bowl segment, you got to have cheesy Super Bowl theme music.
Well, what is that, from 1986?
Pretty close. That's from NBC's coverage of Super Bowl 27, but it gets you pumped for the game. And I am Trevor Matich. A little too pumped.
You're so pumped you can't talk.
Trevor Matich joins us now. Trevor, reporting live from Tennessee for the Super Bowl in New Orleans. What in God's name are you doing in Tennessee if the Super Bowl is in New Orleans, Trevor Matich?
Because it's not snowing in New Orleans. It's snowing in Washington, and it's snowing in Nashville. And so I wanted to be in the snow.
All right. Well, that's a very, very good answer. Maybe, someday we will have a Super Bowl in a snowed weather town, I hope. Yeah. All right. So here we go. It's the 49ers. It's the Ravens. It's the big game. We understand all the, the stories of the brothers and, and all of the underlying things. But on a pure football basis, what are we going to look for Sunday?
We're looking for the quarterbacks. You've got Colin Kaepernick for the 49ers, who's making only his 10th start in his entire career, and everybody's been waiting for him to fold under pressure in the playoffs, but he hasn't done it. I mean, he went to Green Bay and beat the Packers. He went to Atlanta and beat the Falcons to get here. On the other side, you've got the Ravens' Joe Flacco, who is one of the most experienced playoff quarterbacks in history. I mean, he's 8-4 in playoff games, and he's one of the best deep passers in the NFL. So you've got a young quarterback in Kaepernick who can run like RG3 and has a big arm, but is inexperienced and is playing in the biggest game of his career. You've got Flacco, who's not mobile, but who is one of the best pocket passers in the league and has a ton of experience. So will the youth and speed win out over the experience and the big arm?
Well, and the big question with regard to Flacco and the Ravens is, talk to me, you analyze defenses better than anybody, I think. Talk to me about the 49ers secondary. Are they going to be able to chase down Anquan Bolden and the other Ravens receivers when they go long for Joe Flacco?
That will be a big part of this game because the 49ers are so stout up front against the run. If you can't throw deep, you'll have a lot of trouble. And the Ravens really make a lot of money on play-action pass, which requires that the running game get going. But even if those great linebackers led by Aldon Smith and Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, even if they're able to slow down Ray Rice in the running game, you've got speed on the outside for the Ravens in Torrey Smith and Jacoby Jones, and then tight end Dennis Pitta that are all able to go deep. And the 49ers like to play a lot of man coverage. With Flacco's ability to throw accurately deep, I think if they have to go deep in order to move the ball, which I think they will, they'll have the opportunity to get that done, and I think they'll have more success than people give them credit for.
All right, so if you had to make a prediction about who's likely to prevail here, if your arm was twisted, and I wouldn't really do that to you, but if it were, what would you say? What would you say?
But Larry would. Larry would actually physically twist my arm. But I appreciate you being figurative about that.
Right.
This is a tough one to call, because both teams are incredibly physical. This will be a slugfest for people that like old-school football with lots of potential concussions. This is your game. And the question for me is, what will happen at quarterback? Because I do think the 49ers have an edge in the offensive line in the running game, and they have an edge on defense overall. But this is the kind of a game where one or two mistakes can turn the entire outcome. And the young quarterback is more likely to make those mistakes. He hasn't yet in the playoffs.
Are you saying 49ers then?
Will be a difference. So I think the Ravens, even though the 49ers are favored, I'm picking the Ravens to win this game on the strength of Joe Flacco doing to the 49ers what he did to the Patriots defense, being very patient, taking what's there, and executing long drives to score a touchdown without making mistakes.
All right, so settle the conversation that we've been having on this program throughout the week, and that is, you're a former Redskin. The Redskins had their run. They didn't make it to the big game, and so the Ravens are there. Can you, as a Redskins fan and a former Redskins player, be excited and yell for our neighbors, to the north in Baltimore in this game.
Absolutely.
I think so, too.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like your brother. It's like you never want your brother to beat you. You will pull out every stop to beat your brother. But when your brother's in battle with somebody else, you got his back.
Yeah.
And even though I'm a former Redskin, and even though the Redskins have struggled so much in recent years overall against the Ravens, I'm rooting for the Ravens.
Yeah, well,
I don't have a broadcast interest, so I'm rooting for the Ravens.
I've seen those Raven fans, and they are no brothers of mine, all right, except, well, maybe some of the women. Let me say this, though, Trevor. The one rooting interest the Redskins might have is if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, we can say, oh, the Ravens, yeah, we beat them. Big deal.
Well, beat the Giants twice last year, and they won the Super Bowl. So the Redskins keep beating the Super Bowl winner in the regular season. They just have to do something in the postseason now, but they're on the way. Redskins are on the way.
I want to ask you some of the subtext of some of the stories that have been coming out. The problem with Super Bowl is you got 2 weeks of coaches and players and owners just sitting around with nothing to do except maybe a little practice here and there, and so they get themselves into trouble. And, of course, the big story right now is about this 49ers cornerback, Chris Culliver, who made these comments about gay people on the team and in the locker room. Let me ask you, first, I think it goes without saying that you think that those are offensive and obnoxious comments. However, you have been in that NFL culture. You've been in that locker room. Is this the kind of thing that you hear a lot in the locker room? Is there sort of a lot of unspoken gay bashing going on amongst the men on a football team?
Not in my experience. In my experience, just the subject never came up. It just didn't come up. And so it surprised me when it did come up for this 49ers player. The thing is, whether or not, regardless of which side of that issue you're on, it's going to be incendiary from a firestorm standpoint, and you owe it to your team to not bring up any subject that will create that kind of a distraction. So that part of it surprises me. And also because we just don't think about it. Keep this in mind that the reporter, so-called reporter, who brought it up was named Artie Lang, who's a comedian who used to be the house comedian for the Howard Stern
Yeah,
show.
he's a shock jock, and he's so shocking they can't even put him on real radio. He's on the satellite. All right, Trevor, we're running out of time, but I want to paint a picture for me. It's the Matich household. I mean, you were once called the hardest working man in the NFL. You've been in football for decades. What does Trevor Matich do on Super Bowl Sunday?
You know what? Ordinarily, I'd be all busy, and I will be with family watching this game. I will watch it with my brother.
And what's your food of choice? What do you eat? What are you putting in the pie hole?
Ordinarily it would be lots and lots of pie in the pie hole, but I've eaten enough pie to last a lifetime, so I'll just be carrot sticks and celery sticks, maybe in some sort of a low-fat, low-calorie, I'm lying, this is the game, this is the day. Christmas Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Super Bowl Sunday, my diet goes straight away altogether wrong.
There you
go.
Remember Wilson's rule of Super Bowl food. All food must be rated on how it serves as a medium for ranch dressing.
Trevor,
and also, all food must be rated on how long it would burn if you lit it on fire.
Trevor Matich, thanks for joining us. Have a great Super Bowl. Enjoy the game. And as we're talking about our food, I should just say, because I know people are concerned, I will be having Metafast chili and Metafast sloppy joes all day long. And it's